You are now tuned in to the excellence of execution, welcoming Paul, DF, and your co-host, Marley.
We are back with, like, I would say not a semi-celebrity, full celebrity.
I slept over at your house last night.
No, you didn't.
That's why I'm wearing your clothes. And I must say I look absolutely incredible. I think I look better than you in your own clothes.
You do look incredible, but he did not sleep over. I don't know what camera. He did not sleep over my house. We are fully occupied, okay?
I slept there.
No, he didn't. But you do look, you're half the man. Every time we record, you're skinnier. Do you fit in the same size as me now? That's weird, man.
You bought me this turtleneck.
I did in 2018.
Yeah, and it was a crop top.
It looks good.
It's the carnivore diet.
It looks
it's 2,000 pounds of
Don't jump too deep. 2,000 pounds of ground beef.
2,000 calories.
Oh, it's like meatballs. Oh, anyways, forget about meatballs. So we have Chris Stoikos. Welcome to the pod.
What's up, guys? What's shaking, Paul? Dan?
Chris is almost a celebrity figure. Like
I think not almost. I think a celebrity
It's really
figure.
cool.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
I retired though.
He feels like he's on TSN with the mic though. I know he's a big hockey guy too.
This is pure TSN status. Just holding it here. I don't know if they dropped him down and picked him up, but you just hold it the whole time. But I'm liking the vibe.
It's like the World Juniors. Hello, we're from Czechoslovakia or Czechia now. Anyways, you wouldn't know that. You're not a big
I
hockey guy.
do know that because I listen to 680 News every morning, and when the juniors were on, I was following it.
That's great. So I'm really, really excited. Obviously, it's amazing. Thank you for coming on. I know we're going to dive into so many questions. And I've been doing a ton of research on you, probably to the point where my wife thinks I'm stalking you a bit. And when I told her you were on, she's like, yeah, like literally you're watching videos and all these, YouTubes, so many different things.
I'm getting Yahoo links. I'm getting.
I'm sending. I'm like, Dan, Dan, you're also a host. Do some research. But Dan really likes to sit back and dive in. So
I'm really excited to meet you.
You guys are a couple of beauties pumping my tires.
We are a couple of something. That's for sure. Dan would love for us to be a couple in general. But anyways, so walk me through the story of how you became the co-founder or founder and CEO of the Dollar Beard Club.
I was living out in California, me and about 5 buddies, and we all were growing pretty fierce manes. We quit shaving and quickly realized that beard oil was required to keep the fur flowing out of one's face in a nice lustrous glow, be able to soften it up. You can moisturize the skin underneath. Went online, $20 a bottle for stuff that was this big. Some of it had junk in it, and we thought we can do this a little bit better. So we aligned with a supplier. We got some samples in. We dug up the purest ingredients you could find. We lit up a pretty sweet video, put it out to the world, and we were off to the races.
Okay, so let's back up. So you grew up, were born and raised in Richmond Hill.
In Richmond Hill.
Okay, so which is how we got to meet you, through a couple of beauties that work here, Dan Storino.
Yes.
Is that a new word in your repertoire now? Beauties?
That's a hockey word.
You're a complete beautician, bud.
He threw out 18.
Buddy, hang on. No one. There's a few people in my life that have ever expanded the word beauty into beautician.
Right.
And that's the top of the game.
When you do the video,
and
we do one of these, go back. I need like a
yes.
Like a fire.
There's the intro video right there. Like he does little snippets. That's it.
Like a fire.
Right. Because apparently I pay you to only put me in the snippets.
Oh, did you know that, Max?
He thinks I literally put you on payroll, Max. I'm speaking to our producer. So he's always mad in the snippets.
Yeah.
I know you're not on social, so you'll miss that.
Yeah, neither am I. I'm not on social either. But right. I get it sent to me, and it's always Paul. Like, why can't I be in the snippet?
Yeah, maybe because you don't talk as much. Maybe today you will be.
Yeah, I think you're earning your snippet spot right here at the table.
He's already earned his snippet when he was born.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That was too good.
You're gonna put me down a rabbit hole.
Actually, might have to cut that.
This has quickly become
the
most I've laughed on a podcast.
You're gonna. I'm sorry, Chris. I don't read to. I'm sorry. You are gonna make me go down a rabbit hole that I don't want to, because I just don't like. When I was born, that happened. They took a little bit too much. I wish they would give some of it back.
I don't know if we can include that, but that was really good. Can we? You have the sign off. Chris, you're never gonna see this again. You're off social, so you don't count. Okay, I'm sorry.
I'm seeing it right now.
Shoot.
It's too
That
All
was
right,
good.
let's
Okay,
get into some seriousness.
So Richmond Hill. How do you just move to California? Like, how does that happen?
Dude, I always had the California dream. I think I watched a lot of movies growing up, all about the big sign in the hills and whatnot. And when I was in my early 20s, I sold a house. I made some good change on it. I sold an electronics store that I had right at Yonge and Elgin Mills. Speaking of the high school boys, Storino and them, we'd all go there.
Where'd you guys go?
To my St. Teresa of Lisieux.
Saint Teresa.
Yeah.
Where are you going?
Bathurst and Shaftesbury.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Boom.
Okay, dude, it would have been good if you said Bathurst and Elgin Mills, but
Bathurst,
the fact that you
Shaftesbury,
brought
baby.
Shaftesbury in, that
Yes,
is
sir.
the precise
Yes, sir.
intersection of
Yes,
that
sir.
school.
So
Absolutely.
you grew up very close to there, right?
Okay.
I did.
Okay.
A lot of my boys grew up in that pocket of Richmond Hill.
Right on.
Yeah.
So yeah, I sold an electronics store. It's where we all used to hang out. And right after I sold it, hopped in my 350Z, a little orange sports car with a buddy that I grew up playing hockey with, and we did 40 hours, maybe 40 and a few, one way to California.
Wow.
And basically never looked back
So much to dive into.
until
but
now.
That's like the fact that you had an electronics store that young and sold it and moved and did that.
Yeah.
thing is amazing. But you also went on Shark Tank.
Yes.
So walk us through that experience. That is what propelled the company to the next level.
Yeah, it was a unique sequence of events that unfolded all at one time. The week that I filmed Shark Tank was for a business called Coolbox, completely unrelated.
Oh, it wasn't for the...
No, it wasn't for Beard
okay.
Club.
I had
It
no
was
idea.
for a different product that we had crowdfunded. We brought in like around 500 grand. It did well through Indiegogo. And then we went on Shark Tank for that product. We ended up doing a deal on the show. The terms were questionable, so afterwards we backed out, but we got the good publicity from it. And while we were filming that, the same week, Beard Club went viral. So it was like 2 home runs that happened overnight, and all this journey since the drive to California, it picked up, and things were very lucrative and fun, very fun.
You drove there. Like, you weren't joking.
No, I've driven 5 times.
350Z, man.
I know that. I thought it was like a prelude to like something else. Like he literally drove there.
He was fully serious.
Oh yeah,
He was
Why
fully
did you guys
serious.
fit in the
In a
trunk
two-
of that?
in a
a
two-seater.
bare like our
In a two-seater.
duffel bag, our hockey sticks, our rollerblades. Like California's all about roller hockey.
Oh,
and
yeah.
we were chasing
Yeah.
the Mighty Ducks dream
Mighty
out
Ducks
there.
dream. Oh, yeah.
And a
Knuckle
couple
puck.
suitcases, and we just rented ourselves a sick spot right on the beach in Hermosa.
That's a cool story.
Yeah, it was fun times.
That's a really, really cool story. That's awesome. So I did some research. This company for the Dollar Beard Club went 0 to 10 million in sales after 1 year, and you eclipsed 50 million in sales by year 4.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
It happened because the crew of guys that I was working with were a very special, tight-knit group that all had the same vision in our mind, and work rarely ever felt like work. It was always all about having fun. It was always in the heart. We all lived together. We had a sweet big dinner table where we'd sit at and we'd just feast like Vikings with no shirts on, and then go out to the gym and light up big workouts. And we had a sick pool at our 3-acre orange farm down near San Diego. So we really moved like a unit and like a family. And I feel that kind of energy and brotherhood that we created translated into what we were putting out in the videos, and people resonated with it. So they kind of picked up what we were putting down.
So you go to California, the two of you. There's got to be some type of grind. Did you guys pick up part-time jobs? Like how, before you strike,
Sure.
the lottery in the sense that you created. It's not a lottery, but an incredible journey. You guys must have roughed it out for a little bit. I'm assuming.
100%. So the guy that originally came with his name was Nick Nacarado, good buddy from 10 years old. We played hockey together. Yeah. He came out kind of on a whim, like supporting me. I was in a place in my life where I just really wanted to leave, and he's like, "I'll come with you. I'm probably not staying, but I'll come with you and light it up for 6 months or so." Right. So he came out. He ended up going back. I then brought out another buddy, Mike D'Agostini, a guy that was on the same hockey team as me and Knack when we were younger. Right. Him and I got into some other ventures. We had a wearable piece of technology that we had started, which was all right. And then after that, we ended up recruiting more guys down. And actually, dude, there was a chapter before Mike D'Agostini even came, where my brother came after Nick Nacarado, and we opened up a restaurant, a small snack shop on Hermosa Beach's pier, and we were selling organic fried dough, like an American version of the Canadian beaver tail, and we ended up selling that to a taco company who took the spot off us, gave us some shares in the company. Didn't do too well financially, but the experience that was gained along the way, there were like 4 or 5 failed ventures before Beard Club and Cool Box found success.
You are a serial entrepreneur. Like there's,
Thanks, dude.
like we could end it. Like it's incredible, whether they succeeded or failed.
Yeah.
The simple fact was that you were opening and trying new things well before a lot of things launched, which is simply incredible.
Yeah, man.
So we talked a lot about it. I know we didn't dive into the commercial because you did touch. You said you guys launched this commercial. I watched the commercial.
Yeah.
So there's a lion in it. There's some hockey. You're slap shotting into a bunch of what is it? Shaving cream.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was the most Canadian commercial ever, and I think it's very, very good. But maybe just touch upon that commercial. Like that was a real lion.
Yeah, dude. It was no further from like you to me right now. The guys who brought the lion in were throwing him like massive raw T-bone steaks. Not much different than the ones I like to feed.
I was gonna say, don't jump too far ahead. That's like what you're eating now. But you weren't on that diet back then.
No, I wasn't on that diet
didn't try
back
stealing
then.
it from the lion.
No, well, actually, I did steal it from the lion, but just not at that time.
Come on.
Yeah. Well, I didn't steal the steak from the lion. I stole the diet from the lion.
Yes.
Yeah. So yes, there was a lion in our dressing room. At first, it was really scary and a new experience. And then I kind of just settled into it and looked at this guy, and I was just like, boys, look at the beard on this guy. And he's like, he's one of us. And then we kind of just brought some humor to it, and it dropped the fear in the room down a few notches, and we started flowing. And the lion was right there. So we did some pretty sweet shooting in that dressing room. And then there's one more scene where the lion is in the video. And that night, the lion literally walked around the pad of ice, not the one we were on. There was 2 pads at this rink we were at. And he walked around the ice for, I don't know, maybe half an hour to an hour, and he had no desire to come and do the second scene. And the trainers were like, if the lion decides he's not doing the scene, he's not doing the scene. I was like, that's the way I roll, man. Respect that lion. So we had to bring him back the next night. We're in there. We finally got the shot at like 3 a.m. I remember getting the last shot, and then we're at a grocery store buying food to munch out on at like 5 in the morning. But we did the shots. That video ended up getting something like close to 20 million views. Bill Zarian put it on his channel, and it went viral, and that was part of the launch that really kicked things.
That's really, really cool. That was an awesome video. So,
yeah, it's a sweet video.
I really enjoyed that. And then now we'll walk away. There's so much to dive into on that. And anything you want to dive into before we talk about his exit from that role?
I'm really enjoying this right now. The only thing that I do want to talk about, and I don't know, Paul's got a whole spreadsheet here that he put together.
Word.
Yeah, put a whole spreadsheet he's put together for this episode, with cross-outs and dots and things, and different colored pen.
Okay, keep going. You're wasting 30 seconds on a sheet of paper.
I want to understand what happens in your mind. Forget all of your ventures. I want to forget everything. I just want to understand mechanically what happens in your head when you feel uncomfortable, or when you are in a state of fear. I want to understand, and I want to unpack. What do you tell yourself? What is your surrounding? What is your awareness in those circumstances? And then I'd like to tie that back into perhaps business or mortgage brokering.
Okay. So I was not aware of what was going on in my mind when I would experience fear, because I learned how to surf the waves of fear rather than let them go to my head. And it didn't always yield good aligned actions. It caused a lot of disturbance in my world and lost some relationships along the way. And I was really good at, when something that was frightening that came my way, of being able to just cut through it and take action immediately. And I feel like that was one of the things that allowed me to find success in my entrepreneurial ventures, that when something would present itself and there was any questioning of whether or not to do it, it was always do it. And again, that's where now I have more of a process, which I'll talk to you about in a moment, so that you're not swinging at every single pitch that comes your way. Nevertheless, man, it definitely gave me a lot of experience, and I feel like it allowed me to jump reality to the next reality to the next reality at speeds that were very unorthodox to how people normally go through life in linear fashion. So there's one cool thing. A couple years ago, I was living in Quebec, and I hadn't seen Dan Bilzerian in a little bit. And I said, "Dude, what are you up to?" He said, "I'm writing my book. Why don't you come out to my house in Vegas?" So I hopped on a plane. I went to stay with him for a week. And while we were there, he had a cold plunge in his garage, and he hadn't been in it yet. And I was like, "Dude, are you kidding me? You have a cold plunge? Like, let's get in this thing." He's like, "Dude, it's too cold, man. Like, I'm not getting in that thing." I'm like, "Buddy, are you kidding me?" And I was using it and loving it. So he comes in the garage one day, and he's getting ready to get in. And he's like in that moment where it's like, getting ready to cross over. I said, "Dude, just get in." And he looks at me and he goes, "Complete bravery." And he hops right into the cold water, and then he posts up in it for, like most people do, a minute or two, sometimes 3. He went around 4 minutes on his first time jumping in his own cold plunge, and it was nuts. Like, he just went from looking like he was kind of scared to boom, right in. And when he got out, I was like, complete bravery. And we were doubled over laughing at this saying, because yes, it was just 2 words, but for me in that moment, I realized it's the common ground that Dan and I connected on and became friends on, because he's the ultimate master of crossing through something when there's a fearful threshold to get from where you are to where you need to go without getting stuck in the paralysis or the confusion or the indecision or the fear or the guilt or the anger or the sadness that lies in between the reality that you're at and the one that you want to get to. And this was in as simple as an activity as getting into a cold plunge, but it brought this mantra to the forefront. So that's something that I've stuck with, and I love sharing with people around me.
Around the cold plunge for a second?
Sure.
It changed my life.
Dude, same here.
Okay, so
yeah,
forget the obvious physical benefits of doing a cold plunge. My mental fortitude has become so strong.
Yeah.
Just by coaching myself through sitting in a cold plunge.
Yes.
I'm not going to say how many minutes I can sit in there because it's a really long time, and I got kicked out of othership one time for sitting there for too long.
I've never done one, so I don't know.
Because I'm so determined to understand myself.
Yeah.
And to understand when I'm feeling fear, what is it stemming from?
Yes.
And how can I cut through it?
Yes.
And how can I be successful? And how can I not put boundaries around myself that do not exist? Because I find that a lot of people just put boundaries around themselves. I'm too tall, I'm too short, I'm too fat, I'm not smart enough, I'm not brave enough, I'm not anything enough. And it's not real, it's fictitious.
I wish I was taller. I wish I was a baller. Anyways, you're absolutely right. I didn't mean to take that as a joke. Because
yeah, that was
rude. But you said some people say they're too tall, they're too short, and it just reminded me of that song.
Anyways, I really like that story and I like that complete bravery, because it now lights up a bulb that's not just words, it's action.
Yes.
And it gives you the ability to take on anything in the world. Anything.
It literally does. Yeah. So the only question I ask myself now before I use the power of complete bravery is, what is the potential risk or consequence if I jump from here to there and I fall? So if you're jumping from here to there and there's a mountain in between with a 1,000-foot drop, think about it before you say complete bravery and use it. So I've gotten a lot better at that, at ensuring that the risk that's in the jump that you're doing or the emotion you're going through is not anything life-threatening or that can put you in big league danger. And one more thing I want to add on the cold plunge, because I too, man, it really strengthened me mentally, is I learned that you can trace the feelings in your body when you're doing the cold plunge that will allow you to stay in there longer. And what I mean by tracing them is, when you get into the cold plunge, the one part of the body will be the most cold at any given time. And sometimes it could be the whole thing at once, but it's very likely that it's the feet or the knees, or you go, my forearms are freezing, or my chest. So if your chest is cold, you put all your awareness in your chest and you breathe, eventually that energy will run to the forearms. You put it there, then it runs to the feet. And when you trace it around from running to all the different spots on the body, you eventually settle into the breath much quicker and you can stay in there longer.
I've never done one. So
you're doing one tonight, aren't you?
I was supposed to. We're not going anymore.
Why not?
It just didn't work out unless you want to take me.
I'll take you.
Paul, man, come
tonight.
to Bond Lake with us in Richmond Hill.
I would love to.
Boys, we got a chainsaw out there. We cut the sweetest
That's
square
way too far for me.
right in the middle of the lake.
I'm just a starter. I'm the beginning.
Yeah, let's go. It's solid
Is that
stuff.
like Wilcox?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm there.
Okay,
Yeah.
Richmond Hill boys. So
Yeah.
let's just regroup here for a second.
Regroup, bring it
okay?
back in.
So
Where are we going to other ship tonight?
maybe let's tie this all back.
I love
You
other
wanna
shit.
come?
Of course, I love other shit.
Okay, let's tie this back
Yeah.
to our industry and our field. Okay, for a second here. So we often hear. Yesterday, I had one of the sales leaders call me and say, "I'm really coaching my folks this month, and do you ever get? I'm scared to make calls.
Yes.
I'm scared to be rejected."
Yes.
So we talk about fear, and you brought up a great point. What are the risks associated with the outcome potentially?
Yes.
So what could you share? Because I really want our listeners who are going to really enjoy this episode for multiple reasons. But what would you say to someone who has fear of reaching out to realtors or reaching out to financial planners or calling their database and checking in? Maybe their interest rate or the product that they were in, they're not happy with anymore. What would you say to these folks?
Okay, so breaking that down, when a mortgage agent wants to make a call and they don't make the call or they procrastinate on the call out of the fear of rejection, it's not the actual rejection that bothers them to feel. It's the fear of feeling the rejection. It's very similar to ripping off a Band-Aid. The scariest part about ripping off a Band-Aid is not the actual rip. It's the fear of the rip. So when a person is getting ready to make a call, that's when you use the complete bravery. Because the longer you marinate in creating possibilities in one's mind, what if the person answers and rejects me? What if they make fun of me? What if they hang up on me? What if they don't answer? Do I call back or do I leave a message? All of these thoughts, complete bravery, cut through the crap and make the call. The more we get rejected, the easier it is to be able to sit with that feeling. And it's no difference than putting on a pair of hockey skates for the first time and hitting the ice. Yeah, you're going to fall down. And the fear of falling down is just a fear. Because when you actually fall, okay, it hurts for a second. And then the fear of falling down reduces, which brings you more into a state of presence. And the more present you are, the less chances are that you're actually going to fall. So the more calls you make, the more comfortable you're going to get with it. And the more comfortable you get with it, the more confidence you're going to have. The more confidence that you have, the better you're going to be at exuding that confidence through the phone line when you're on the phone to create what feels like an emotional safety nest for the person on the other end going, I don't even know who this guy is, but he's only said a few words, but I can feel him grounded, confident, and straight. And then you close leads.
Yeah, let them feel the energy, smile through the phone, energy through the stuff that we've always been talking about.
I think that if we loop back to understanding what risks come with cutting through the fear, if you think about for a mortgage agent specifically, the risks are very minimal. It's just rejection. And the upside could be endless.
That's right.
Yeah.
So really, if you think about, there's really no risk to you making that call. No. And something that I want to share is I was at an event this week, and there was a real estate broker that I really want to participate in business with, a very, very successful real estate broker that I've never met in person. I didn't learn about the complete bravery sort of notion until right now, but in my head I said to myself, I'm going to walk up to this real estate broker, I'm going to introduce myself, I'm going to say, I'd really love an opportunity to work with you. There was fear just riddling through my entire body, but I said to myself, what's the worst thing that can happen? They say no. And I walked right up to him and I said, hi, my name is Daniel, and I'd really love the opportunity to work with you.
What happened?
And we set up a meeting.
Dude, so, okay, when you just said that, it brought another thing to clarity. Oftentimes, that fear that you were riddled with in your entire body, that fear needs to leave you in order for you to become what I like to call a vibrational match. The laws of attraction attract people into our life depending on how we vibrate. And the more junk and debris and garbage and baggage you're carrying, well, you'll be a vibrational match for the people also carrying that stuff. So what will also happen is when you see somebody like the real estate guy you saw, when your mind then thinks of connecting with him, your body will go, okay, Dan, we just lifted up everything that's going to leave you if you ask him. And no matter what, it leaves you by asking him. Whether or not he says yes or whether or not he says no. Green light or a red light, the fact is that crap came up and you're not scared to ask him or the next guy now. So it's a win-win.
1,000%.
That's a great point. So speaking of fear or moving on, you ended up exiting the CEO role at a time that you were becoming a new father, and you wanted to embark on your lifelong dream of being a hockey player.
Yes.
So how do you leave something that's so successful, and what sparked that decision?
Is that your dream? You wanted to be in the show?
I do, though.
He still does.
Really? Let's make it happen.
I think he's the eldest guy in the league.
Bravery. Age is just a number, Paul.
No, he's the eldest
Age is
guy
just
playing
a
in his
number.
league right now. He's playing on. You're playing
Look
for
at
Bravery.
Look at this luscious mane.
I know. I like that word. The first opening monologue, he threw out 18 words that we can just use over and over. And
Your mane is not that luscious, but we can get there.
I don't plan on making it luscious.
No, you got to make it luscious.
I'm a scruff guy. That's
You're a
it.
scruff guy.
So
right.
one thing at a time here. I had some dreams already come true in the hockey world. I played 6 games in Australia's pro league there.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, I had a buddy on the team, a guy named Matt Harvey, an absolute beauty friend from first year in university. And he said that they had a full squad for the year, but the first 6 games, the imports that were coming from Canada weren't going to be there yet, so I could get 6 games under my belt. And I was like, of course, I'm there. And I went, and I got 4 goals, 7 assists, and led the team in scoring.
Wow.
Why didn't they sign you?
They wanted to. I need to come back to
got
Canada. There was other things going on.
Yeah, you fulfilled like that.
I needed to. I went to a whole other world, which got me that initial resume, which then opened doors here. Right. So then I was able to play in the Allen Cup League. I was able to play in Quebec Senior Elite League. There was an offer to go play pro in Europe from the manager on the Australian team. But that kind of leads into my next thing. I have 3 little girls here, and definitely being rooted is something that they taught me more than anything in my life. I was a wild man at times, to say the least, during the Beard Club journey. And there came a point where my other thing that I remember thinking of a lot when I was a child was just how much I couldn't wait to be a dad. It was always something that fired me up and excited me. So it was a cool and unorthodox 180-degree change when I went, this Instagram account is so cool, and I love this blue check mark, and I love being recognized and walking around, and I love the mansion that we have in Hollywood, and I love the limo and all the glamour and glitz that came with it. And then I went, I've completed this chapter, and the wisdom will stay with me forever, and I look forward to retaining that and being able to channel it into something else. And that's when being able to start raising my girls as a very stay-at-home dad for their whole life. And it's been a beautiful thing that's allowed me to establish a connection with them that fosters and nurtures them emotionally, and even more than that, what it does for me. It's like children can only move at a certain speed, and they do things in order. They do things with such a ridiculous level of presence. It blows my mind that it brought me back to that, and it brought me into places that I've then transitioned into finding success in hockey later in life, and making the impossible possible.
As a father of 3 girls, like, I don't know if when someone says you give them chills or something really resonates with you. So as you said that there was 2 moments. So the simple fact of obviously having 3 daughters, similar to me, and grow and just watching them grow up is incredible. But it is so admirable to walk. Like, there is very few people, if any, that would walk away from that life that you just explained.
It's about complete awareness, which is
it's
what
incredible.
you have complete awareness.
Say I walked away from that life, and I think the thing that comes to mind, and you're going to say this and agree with, so many people chase the clout. You had it, you were there, and you're able just to say this chapter is like closing a chapter is so meaningful. And it's very hard just to close the book and get rid of baggage, which you explained, which is incredible. So kudos to you.
Thanks, boys.
Privacy is one of the largest luxuries of this life. And I find that everybody is chasing the exact opposite.
Dude.
They want to be famous, and they want to be this, and they want to be that. And I look at everybody and I say to myself, do you want to walk into a store with your kid and have 1 million people take a photo of you and not let you live your life? And like, I just feel that we got to take a step back sometimes and understand what we're really looking for.
Yes.
And then attack.
Dan, that advice is some of the most powerful advice I've ever heard, phrased in such a compact sentence, that privacy is one of the greatest luxuries. And it really is. I learned that the hard way. And I realized that no amount of any of the stuff that I had is better than just having a beautiful life with your tight crew of friends, your family, your loved ones, all surrounding you. That's where true flow comes from, true love, true groundedness, not the other stuff.
I got a call from a realtor friend of mine the other day, and he's like, how's the podcast going? Like, what's the goal of the podcast? Is it, for social media presence, for growth, for clout? Like why do you guys do it? And I don't think we do it for any of that reason. Like,
I just love it.
To be honest, we truly enjoy recording. Conversations like this mean so much. And really the reason why we started the podcast was for people that are entrepreneurial in general. It doesn't have to be a mortgage agent, but specifically mortgage agents, for them to listen to this and really just get ideas and true bravery, or understand how they can take a segment of this show and implement it into whether it's their work or personal life. That's all we do it.
Paul, man, that is literally why I'm here right now. I don't remember the last time I did a podcast, and every time I did it, when you're living in that fast lane of fast money life, the podcast, for me, it always had a subconscious hidden agenda on both sides. The person interviewing me was going to be able to, raise their stuff, and maybe we're going to make some money behind the scenes kind of thing. And for me, it was always like, I'm going to get more followers. Beard Club's going to make more money. Yeah. And now I literally have the opposite. I was like, okay, let's, we don't need to talk about everything. Let's take it easy. Yeah. And I think that's why I'm laughing so much.
Yeah, we're not here to make money. That's for sure. I don't think we made a single dollar. We're only losing dollars for this podcast. No, I'm serious. I just want to head that out there. I'm dying for sponsors. I'm like, I can't even, anyone out there. We're looking.
How many podcasts have ever said that we're losing money?
We're losing money.
That's how in the heart this is.
I don't know if it's not. I don't know if you're losing money.
We're spending money. I think between our producer,
we're using our own resources to fund the venture that we love.
Sorry, we're not losing money. We're not making money.
We're certainly not making any money. But that's not the point of this.
No, it's passion.
But dude, is it okay to say it? It's beautiful. What it does, dude, is it turns down the serious meter. It's just like, turn down the serious meter. And this is life right here. This is literally life in the way it's supposed to flow.
Paul always likes to look at me and say, Dan, this is what life's about.
It is. Okay, we had a great segue into social media. So
we're still going?
What do you mean? It's not done. There's no way. We've taken an exit. I got 18 questions left.
You got a whole
No, not 18.
There.
3. So we talked about social media quick. You took an exit from social. Yeah. I don't think there's anything more to add on that, because Dan, you're not on social either. How's that transition been? It sounds like you're very happy with it.
It's the best thing I've ever done.
We could touch that for that.
Yeah, 100%.
Not enough people understand that.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't want to bash it, because I was there, and I'm really grateful that who I was at that time in my life, and the things that I was working through, and the dreams I was chasing, and who I thought I needed social media. It did something for me. And it can do something for everyone. And it's all about how you use, any vice on this planet. Things can be brought into balance or out of balance. So for me, I used it in a way that I feel was very out of balance in the extreme of yes. And now I'm using it in a way where it's more on the extreme of no. Yet that extreme of no social works for me. I got a flip phone, which was one of the coolest things ever to go back to the 90s. I even rebought an NES and a tube TV from a buddy of mine. And it's just like a VHS player, man, like the whole 9 yards.
That's really cool.
An iPod too. With the headphones.
Good thing you have the flip phone, or else I couldn't send you the questions.
No, 100%. Because
you don't even have an email.
But actually, at this moment, I've kind of been dabbling back in an iPhone. I got an iPhone 6.
Okay.
And then my buddy gave me an iPhone 3G, and it's actually in the process of getting unlocked as we speak. So I like messing with baby steps, man. It's fun. It's good to kind of be in that world. But for the most part, yeah, man, landlines and flip phones.
That's crazy to go back to that. Well, good thing I saw a payphone at Union Station, so those are still around.
They're around here and there.
I said to my daughter, I'm like, do you know what that is? No, that's a payphone. Like, that's when it really got
Let me add one more thing as to the why, for anyone who's wondering why. To me, when a lot of the technology crossed over from being analog into being digital, for me, it got too fast. and it was unnecessary.
Okay.
Like we're on what, iPhone 17 or something now?
I think 27.
I'm not.
And when's it going to end?
Guy. Yeah, I don't know.
When does it end? Like when does something reach the heights of innovation, and how much faster can they make it? Aren't some of the best things on this planet done slowly?
Yeah, 100%.
It's just like being able to engage in interactive relationships that are done at a speed that aligns more with nature. You can't speed up nature.
That's right.
The challenge is that it's not we're talking about profits. We're not talking about people.
Correct.
Right? So
Fast money.
Right. But
Profits, not people.
the challenge is that folks are conditioned by the corporations to think that they need something new.
Yes.
And that's really the challenge. And
Yes.
it's the lack of awareness that doesn't allow people to take a step back. And yeah, I think you're a little too extreme in my personal opinion, but that's your thing, right? Like, that's all good.
We could literally talk I could talk all day with him. But then if we went for lunch, he'd give me he'd throw me a piece of steak that's
you keep
rare.
making jokes at me when I'm talking.
What?
This is the second time you're interrupting me. What are you
We
doing
reversed roles. How did I interrupt you?
What are
Aren't
you
you
doing
done?
here?
You looked at me.
What are you doing here?
I thought you were
Anyways,
done.
I'm done.
Oh my God.
I thought you were done.
I'm done.
Let's keep
But
flowing.
I'm sorry, were you still going? You said he was too extreme. Like, how else can
And then
you?
I was like, took a breath because I was talking.
Oh, I thought it was like emphatic. You're too extreme, and it was a joke, and then people are gonna laugh.
Anyways,
Like,
I think you're right. I think that there's a balance between moving too fast and then moving with nature. I think there could be a nice balance in there of what could work, but I also think that it makes a lot of people's lives a lot easier, and connectivity is a lot easier these days, and it's I think it's a nice thing, but I do understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, to each their own. Embrace where any person is at on their own personal journey.
1000%.
It's cool to hear other options and the way other people are living, to be able to give someone the perspective to go down a different path if they choose to.
Can I talk now?
He's done.
Can you talk to us about the carnivore diet, please?
Sure.
Second last question.
A year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago, I heard about this thing called the carnivore diet. And I had personally tried almost every diet under the sun, from like carb loading to caveman to paleo to vegan to there was keto. There was even a very short stint of fruitarian, just loose behavior on some of these attempts that I made, and nothing really ever worked. I was always missing something that I wanted, and the things I had to cut out were, I missed them. So when I heard about the carnivore diet, I said, what's this? Like, I definitely like the sound of that name. I feel kind of like a carnivore anyways. Yeah. And I had been informed by some different people, including a guy that I did a coaching session with. He's a carnivore coach. And he basically told me that when you start eating carnivore, every single thing in the body is going to start healing itself. I said, what do you mean? Like, what starts healing itself? He goes, everything. The organs regenerate, the eyes, the skin, the body. I was like, well, dude, I've been wanting to heal my eyes like organically. I was going to get LASIK in my early 20s, but I canceled it. And I always thought there was a way. And I've heard of people doing this through eye yoga and stuff. He goes, give it a shot.
Eye yoga.
Yeah.
And fruitarian.
No, not fruitarian.
No, I know, but you're just throwing out words that I need to. I just
Oh,
want to
yes.
remind myself.
Okay,
You're a fruitarian.
I think I might be a
You
fruitarian
are
coach.
a fruitarian. No, you are not a coach.
He said a carnivore coach. I could be a fruitarian coach. I can make money doing
so
being a fruitarian
anytime
coach.
we eat anywhere, there has to be
He's
the most
dying.
elaborate fruit platter in the history
in the world.
And like, if you're eating with Paul, you're getting like you got like pineapple like crowns coming out of the thing.
Pineapple. Pineapple's my least favorite fruit. But anyways, okay.
Okay, so fruitarian means you only eat fruit.
Yeah, which is incredible.
And technically an olive is a fruit, and so is a tomato, and so is an avocado, because they
really
have
cool.
seeds. It's pretty far out, but that was mostly what I was eating when I did it for the 2 weeks that I did it. That was my shortest
That's
attempt
really
at
cool.
something. Hopped out.
Okay. You
Eye
healed your
yoga
eyes.
is
Eye
like
yoga.
you hold your finger in front of you,
Okay.
and you look at your finger.
Yeah.
Now don't stop looking at your finger. Change the focus from looking at your finger to look beyond your finger.
Done.
Now come back to your finger.
Done.
Look beyond it.
Okay.
Now look in the space in between your finger and your eyes. It's just energy, but just look at it. Your eyes will start pulsing. You guys feel that?
Yeah.
Okay, so now you're bringing energy to your eyes. It's a form of eye yoga, and there are exercises you can do for people that have farsighted or nearsighted to be able to start bringing your vision back. And diet is one of the components. So I wore glasses and contacts from the time I got prescribed -4 when I was 10 years old.
Wow.
And I haven't had glasses or contacts in my eyes for 2 years now.
Good for you, man.
Or maybe a little less, maybe a year and a half. It was short. I was starting to do the eye yoga things, and then when I went carnivore, it kicked it up a notch. to the point where I passed my driver's license test that used to have like a little condition on it to not needing it anymore.
That's crazy.
I just got a headache doing that eye yoga.
100%.
Yeah,
you will
I'm
get a
wearing my
headache.
glasses.
Yeah.
Oh, no, mine's
Yes.
fine.
But I might go carnivore.
So,
You should go
Does
carnivore.
Fruitopia, or what's it called again?
fruitarian.
Fruitarian.
Does that help your
No,
eyesight?
that does the opposite to me.
The opposite?
Yes.
Oh, I'm
no,
out.
yeah.
I'm out. What?
Fruitarian.
So,
What's your deal today?
I didn't say anything.
okay, so on the carnivore front, I
Walk
took
us
this,
through like a day in the life of what you eat.
dude, complete bravery to enter this reality.
That's obviously the title of this episode.
It's really not that hard to eat all carnivore.
Are you
Dan,
crazy?
it-
Raw.
done
This guy
It's
eats
the
raw.
greatest.
No, but he eats
I
it raw, but you don't
graduated
have to eat raw.
Yeah, you don't have to
Oh.
eat it raw, and I don't always eat it raw.
You always eat it raw.
Yeah, I can.
You're a raw kind of guy, bro. You're not eating. You're not cooking. I can see. You got 3 girls.
Dude, do you know how easy it is road tripping somewhere
Yeah,
with
easy.
being a raw carnivore?
Yeah, I can
You
imagine.
literally just go to any grocery store, you buy a pound of meat, and you just eat it with your hand while you're driving.
That's so fun.
It's pretty incredible.
But,
You salted or no?
yeah,
Get a
salt. It's
little-
the only thing. Little, yeah.
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 Do you have a little? We're whistling here now.
Yeah.
Do you like prosciutto and salami and that stuff too?
Yeah, yeah. I always, my favorite thing is if I'm eating cold cuts, which is few and far between, find a brand that has just the meat and then the only ingredient is salt. It's tough to find, but
It
it
is really
works.
hard to find. You have to make
So
it yourself.
when I first did this carnivore coaching and I learned about it, day in the life of carnivore, for breakfast, 1.5 pounds of ground beef.
Is the level of consumption because of your exercise, or that's what you would eat if you weren't exercising?
So one of the rules of carnivore is always eat until you are full, Thanksgiving full is the way he calls it. So
Wow.
you eat until you're absolutely satiated, and then your body has the fuel it needs, and you don't eat again until you're hungry. So the next rule of carnivore is only eat when you're hungry. So eat until your absolute maximum capacity, and then only
But
eat
hunger
again
is
when you're
sometimes
hungry.
mental rather than actual hunger. I
I've had to work through my own parts of this journey where I'm more regimented now. I've played with times only eating when I'm hungry. Now I find more success in eating. The last little bit, I've been doing 2 meals a day.
Yeah.
2 pounds of ground beef for breakfast and 2 pounds for lunch.
Are the girls on this
about-
diet too?
Oh my gosh, man. My daughters, when we were living in Florida, it's all we would eat. Literally, we'd shuck oysters. They'd fire back oysters sitting at it like an oyster bar. The restaurant was like, what are these girls eating, man? And they're
That's
like
so cool.
4 and 3 years old, and they love steak more than anything. It's their favorite
That's
food.
amazing.
My oldest goes, Dad, can you bring me some filet mignon? Like she knows the words and calls them
Wow.
that. But so yeah, ground beef for breakfast. Then I'd have like a T-bone ribeye and a pack of bacon for lunch, and then a dozen oysters,
like I'm in a movie.
a strip loin steak, and a rack of ribs for dinner. Like I'm talking 4, 5, sometimes 6,000 calories a day.
How often are you working out?
Often, I'm in the best shape of my life I've ever been.
You look incredible.
I had to.
You're glowing.
When you have 6 buttons done,
You're
down,
got a
you
little,
know,
got a little the chest fro going.
the chest roll actually connects almost to the
Oh yeah,
beard.
it goes all the way down to his toes. It goes from the head to
That's
his
how
toes.
the energy when he's in the cold plunge.
I needed to get
You know
myself
when
in
he's
shape
happy,
for
it's a little
hockey.
curly.
And 100%, I get a little curly here.
Yeah.
And it got me back in a good shape. And the carnivore, man, I feel it does. It gives you
Salt, pepper, no sauce on anything.
not even pepper.
Okay, just salt.
Literally just salt.
Got you.
And
Is it Himalayan?
Yeah, rotate Himalayan, Celtic sea salt.
You have a rotation for salt.
The rotation,
You
you gotta
are
rotate the
maybe the
salt.
most interesting man alive. It's possible.
No
So
sekis.
the key is
I'm playing this in the car for Adriana. This whole episode.
Do you drink alcohol?
okay. So I was just about to get
Okay.
there. So I went a year and a half. Perfect carnivore, zero cheating.
Okay.
And the guy who taught me said it takes 6 months for your body to, your brain to basically become, I can't remember the term he used, something like fat satiated. Like it's so filled with fat and protein that it changes your operating system, almost going from like Mac to Windows type of thing. And it's a form of ketosis. So when you're eating keto, it's the same thing. Your body's running on ketones when you eat carnivore because there's no carbs and no sugar. After doing it for a year and a half, I was like, this is profound. The main thing beyond the healing that the people who talk about it, and there's a really cool thing on Apple called the Carnivore Cast. It's like a carnivore podcast. And there's so many MDs and PhDs that talk about like the profound effects, is that a person's energy no longer experiences peaks and valleys. It's steady energy from the time you get up until the time you go to bed. And when you need to rest, you're able to embrace the rest. if you want to sit down and take a moment, you don't feel like you're revving your engine and there's something you have to do, but you're too tired, or the opposite of that. So the way that it brings the energy into balance is brilliant. After a year and a half of doing it, when I popped into Australia for that month and a half, I was on, my first little hockey stint, and my buddy was like, they're all cracking beers after we had a win in the dressing room. And I was like, okay, give me one of these beautiful golden elixirs from the gods. And I cracked it open, held it with two hands, and just drank it like one of the greatest things that's ever touched my lips. Right. And it was beautiful because I didn't feel like I had a craving for it. It was more out of the celebratory situation. And the next day, oftentimes when I would drink, it's like, I already had one. Let's drink again. Let's drink more. Yeah. But I had control over it now. Right. Beer didn't have control over me. Right. So I was like, okay, let's go out to the restaurant. The boys went out to a restaurant. I ordered fettuccine Alfredo and had some veggies. And I was just like, oh my good God, man, it lit me up again. Next day, boom, body just wanted to go back to carnivore. I'm like, are you kidding me? I don't have to fight these urges or cravings anymore. Right. So for the following 8 months or so, I've dipped in and out for a meal there. When I'm out with the boys, I'm out with friends, I'm out for a dinner, I don't mind eating what's there, a few veggies and whatnot, but my body just naturally wants meat now, so it's become an effortless lifestyle that I enjoy.
The food that we put in our body plays such a role in everything. It's amazing.
You drink coffee?
Not anymore. I've only probably had 20 coffees in my life. Okay. It would always give me too much energy. So green tea was my thing when I was in the caffeine world.
Gotcha.
Last question for me. What advice would you give listeners who want to embark on some sort of spiritual journey or potentially a dietary journey?
Sure. I would give the advice to listeners to play with a process that I've developed called mind mapping, and embrace the power that exists when you put stuff onto paper. You draw a circle in the middle of the paper and you put in the middle of the circle a feeling you're feeling or a thought that you're having or a situation that's taking in your place in your life that's undesirable. You make a stick off of the middle circle, make another bubble, and write in that bubble the first thought that comes up. Another stick, next thought that comes up. And you dump it until you have a page filled that looks like a web with everything that's taking place in the mind. When something is taking place in the mind, we can't touch it. It's on a mental plane. We can talk about it, we can think about it, but we can't actually feel it. We can't actually see it. It's only in our head. By moving what is in our head onto a piece of paper, we're basically transitioning it from the mental plane to the physical plane. As soon as something moves from the mental plane to the physical plane, the stress that it is creating in the mind loses its stranglehold. That stress cannot coexist on the mental plane and the physical plane at the same time. So it's a manual choice to move what's taking place in the head or the heart or the nervous system by addressing it onto a piece of paper. And I use the term flattening the reality. So a piece of paper is flat, move it from something that's just in the etherical realm and in the head onto something you can touch. And then when you read it and look at it, the information that you put down goes in through the eyes and it's processed by a different part of the brain than the part of the brain that was initially responsible for creating what's on the paper. As soon as you do that, it will kick a person back into one of two states. A state of flow where you're ready to take action. Talking, eating, drinking, dancing, playing, working, exercising, you name it, any kind of flow state possible, or into a state of rest, relaxation, meditation, sleep. And you won't be caught in one of the undesirable states. Anxiousness, procrastination, confusion, indecision, fight or flight, anger, etc.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant. Well, I mean, it's great that you've articulated what I think we've been practicing for a long time by just taking our thoughts and either discussing them with somebody who is not going to pass any judgment, or writing it down and then not either sharing it with the person that you're feeling the uncomfortableness with.
Yeah.
But that's a really great way to kind of just build a book of a clean and stable mental capacity.
100%, Dan. And another thing to add on that front is when you do have close friends and people you can confide in, and there's a beautiful level of trust, it can also be very healing just to share stuff with
100%.
people. And then there can be lines that you don't even want to cross with those closest to you that are your own little internal things that you can settle in the privacy of your own heart using this process. So after I dump them into the mind map, what I'll usually do is I keep them all stacked in a box in my house, and I'll burn them once a week, once a month, but I keep them there on the paper so that they're separate from my mind until I feel the pattern I'm getting rid of leave, or the mental belief that I don't want anymore leave. And then once it's gone, you burn it.
I think anxiety, depression,
Yeah.
all those other words that you shared with us would just go away if people practice this.
If you practice it, yes. And when you start mind mapping, what can happen is it's similar to opening up a zip file on the computer. Before you double click that zip file, if you don't, you can't always see the size. Once you open it, you don't know what's going to be in there. It could be 2 JPEGs. They're simple. I'll print them off. Nice. Or, oh my God, there's 14 other zip files in here, and each one has a bunch of files, and it's disorganized and it's all over the place. So when you do your first mind map of, I feel depressed, I feel anxious, I feel sad, and you open that, then it can go, whoa, I didn't realize this was bothering me. Do another mind map right on the spot. Oh, I didn't realize this was bothering me. Do another mind map on the spot. Yeah. And the key is stop mind mapping as soon as you feel inspired to go back into a state of flow.
Oh, I love that.
Or the second you feel your body moving into a parasympathetic state where rest is now present. Right. Do not push and do not dig. Listen to the body, because if you go too far, and I have gone too far, you can actually reverse the effects that you're doing in the mind mapping because you're getting ahead of yourself. Your mind is going out of alignment from your body.
Would you say this is a form of meditation?
Definitely. And more so, I'd say it's a tool to have in your emotional or spiritual toolbox, and that it kicks you into a state of meditation if that's what your body needs.
Love that.
This has been incredible. I know we could talk for a long time.
Yeah.
Obviously, we got to cap out somewhere.
Let's cap out.
Maybe we got to do another time, bring them on.
I'm not kidding you, man. This has been a ridiculously cool, fun, flow-filled, effortless experience sitting here with you guys. I've laughed more than I've ever laughed on a podcast.
Oh, we appreciate that.
My cheeks literally hurt right now, and it's the way it needs to be. Agendaless, beautiful, informational sharing of our stories. So
100%.
thank you guys.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.